Welcome, guys. Welcome back to Minko's Corner once again. I'm your host, Minkoy. Today we're back with another video that you guys have liked a lot, the Sabaton. My Sabaton reactions. Today we're going to be reacting to the Soviet-Afghan war. I know I'm jumping all over the place, and I'm sorry for the people who are waiting for my Aurelian Part 3 reaction. There was an issue where my computer sort of stopped in the middle of the reaction. I was like 20 minutes in, and I can post that, but then there's like 10 minutes left, so I might do like a part one, part two type deal if you want, but it won't be like as nice. I might do a complete. I might edit it out, so I might do that, but that will come a little bit later this week. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the delay. It was a very interesting video. I can tell you that. Anyways, today we're going to be reacting to the Soviet-Afghan War, which I've heard a lot about. I know a little bit about it. I know it was deemed the Vietnam of the Soviet Union, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's go and let's learn about Afghan history here and
Few
Soviet history.
bands, well, Western bands at least, have written songs that refer to the war between the Soviet Union and the Mujahideen in Afghanistan.
But we did, and our song is Hill 32, 34.
I'm Indy Nidell.
And this is Joachim from Sabaton.
And this is the last for now, but hopefully the last for good, long distance episode of Sabaton History. In a few days, yeah, well, we hope so. I will be able to meet with Joachim finally in a few days from when we're filming this, and we'll do the interviews for several songs. I have no idea when I'm going to meet with Per, but he's actually getting back home and hopefully escaping quarantine soon. Right?
He got out of quarantine a few hours ago.
He
actually.
did.
He was cleared by the doctors.
Gosh, poor guy. I mean, he's tested twice in the last week,
Yeah.
He sent. I wrote to him on Facebook yesterday, and he wrote me back, and he said, "I'm in complete lockdown. I'm in quarantine, and I have water, and this is my food." And he sends a picture, and it's one piece of like dark bread and a hard-boiled egg. And
Oh,
that's
yeah,
it.
that one. He was not happy.
Yeah,
Poor
poor
guy.
pair. Well, all right. Well, Hill 32, 34. "1987. The Soviet engagement in Afghanistan was coming to an end. Since the coup,
Look at this country, man. They're in it's such a weird country when you think about it in terms of how it was able to survive from so long. Props to them because they went from being at war with the Soviet Union, then to having a civil war, and then to having, or at least I don't know if there was a civil war or did the the Mujahideen take over, what was the Taliban, and then the Taliban were taken down, 2001, and then there was like a 20-year war, and now for the first time they're a full on. Well, they were a country beforehand, but now they're an emirate, if you will, a theocracy. They have a border with China. It's a weird. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying here, but it's.
at Tajbek Palace back in 1979, they had been keeping the pro-Soviet government of the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan in control of the country. The Soviet army had never planned for a long-term occupation. They just wanted to beat the Afghan insurgents into submission until the DRA could stand on its own 2 feet. Neither had happened.
Yeah.
The Soviets could only win short-term tactical victories. They could beat the rebels, they could kill them in the open, but they could not keep them from becoming rebels in the first place. More and more money, men, and material disappeared into the quagmire. But the situation in Afghanistan was unsalvageable. Withdrawal was, in the end, the only sound solution. Afghanistan was far from being a unified nation-state. Outside of Kabul and the other big cities, people lived in the old ways. Local feudalistic and Islamic traditions prevailed, and they collided with the autocratic Soviet system. Warlords were united in their hatred of the Soviet occupiers and their sponsored president, Mohammad Najibullah. So for nearly 10 years, the Mujahideen, the Muslim warriors, fought a relentless guerrilla war against that occupation. Led by influential leaders like Jalaluddin Haqqani or Osama bin Laden, the Mujahideen were well organized
What?
and moved around the wide mountain ranges of Afghanistan through a large system of caves and hidden trails. From Pakistan and other sympathetic countries, they were outfitted with AK-47s, Lee Enfield rifles, anti-tank mines, and rocket launchers. But while the Soviets were now set on withdrawing their forces, Mohammad Najibullah was getting nervous about the future of his government. To stay in power, the Afghan president needed a symbolic victory, one that would show the guerrilla forces that he was in control. Now, large parts of Afghanistan were connected by single paths, many of them ancient, which led through the steep-sided mountains, often for dozens of kilometers. One such route, the Satu-Kandev Pass, ran from Kabul towards the cities of Gardez and Kos in the province of Paktia. Since 1981, it had been under control of the Mujahideen, so most of Paktia was cut off from ground traffic, and the Soviets had been forced to supply their forces there by air. This was, of course, not only very expensive, but by the late 1980s, the Mujahideen were increasingly equipped with surface-to-air missiles, like the US-made FIM-92 Stinger.
Yeah.
A plan was made to wrest control from the Mujahideen. Operation Magistral, or Highway, was to reopen Satu-Kandev Pass for traffic once more. On November 19, 1987, Soviet airborne units and special forces were airlifted into the mountains and swept the guerrilla forces from their positions in a well-coordinated attack. Such units had proven particularly effective at fighting in hostile and inhospitable terrain. They adapted quickly, and fighting in Afghanistan favored smaller but well-trained and equipped units, for which the regular motor rifle divisions were unsuited.
Guerrilla warfare is
of the 300
guerrilla warfare is a hell of a weapon when you think about it. So many, because when you think of a battle, you think the bigger army diplomacy. I have a bigger army, I'm gonna win, right? But there's so many times that guerrilla warfare actually prevailed. Afghanistan, Napoleon, with when he went to Spain. I have to think now, but I'm sure it has prevailed over and over again, many different situations. It's a tactic that's very useful and very annoying to deal with. I would think, if you were the army with the bigger force, you'd be annoyed that you're having all these pesky problems, whereas you come from a position of power and strength, and little by little you get dwindled out.
145th Independent Guards Airborne Regiment were ordered to occupy the heights in the southwest of the route, near Sarani. The 345 was a veteran unit. From the very beginning of hostilities, they had been involved in numerous operations, leading raids deep into the countryside. Brought in by gunships, they set out to ambush the Mujahideen supply routes with aggressive and imaginative tactics. Now they were spread out thinly over the mountaintops. The 39 paratroopers of the 9th Company were sent to Hill 3234.
Okay.
This hill, named after its height in meters, which is over 10,000 feet, was a commanding position that must be held if the pass was to be controlled. Most of 345's men at this point were not even 20 years old, but although conscripted from all over the Soviet Union, the paratroopers had undergone special mountain combat training in the Uzbek ASSR. That experience was now crucial in the brutal Afghan winter and the extreme elevation. On the evening of December 31st, under command of Senior Lieutenant Sergei Tkachyov, the 9th Company established camp on Hill 3234. Already, though, Mujahideen who had crossed the border to Pakistan were re-infiltrating, making their way to the mountain pass. Key to the Soviet defense were two things: the radio control station that kept contact with the Soviet artillery, and the 12.7 millimeter NSV heavy machine gun on the highest point of the mountain.
What the hell was that? It looked like a sniper, like a Dragunov from Black Ops 1, but
The approaches to the hill were heavily mined, leaving only 2 routes for reinforcements open. The paratroopers had 2 PKM light machine guns, a grenade launcher, and a couple rocket launchers, but by the nature of mountain warfare, had only limited fields of fire. Also, the ground was frozen solid, so digging trenches was out. Instead, the men built waist-high walls of loose, dry stone called kladki. These were deemed good enough to withstand the occasional small arms fire and sporadic shelling from the enemy. The Gardes Coast route was now officially open for traffic for the first time since 1981. For a few days, the paratroopers of 345 were shelled and sniped at on a daily basis, but nothing out of the ordinary. However, on January 7th, Orthodox Christmas Day, the shelling suddenly intensified. A massive artillery barrage rocked the mountain. It was immediately clear that this was not part of the regular harassing attacks. Several hundred mortar rounds and rockets crashed into the Soviet encampment, showering the area with shrapnel and destroying much of the Kladki walls. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the camp was suddenly struck by rocket attacks from 3 sides. From the south, groups of fighters advanced in the wake. The Mujahideen rushed from cover to cover and got within 200 meters of the outpost before they were spotted. The NSV heavy machine gun opened up at once, tearing into the attackers. The quick-thinking artillery spotter called in artillery support, and it silenced many of the Mujahideen rocket launchers. But that brought only a short respite. At 4:10, another bombardment rained down on the Soviet position.
This is insane when you think about it. There were like only 39 people. I don't know how many there survived by now, but it's like it's basically 300 the movie, You're alone against a larger army, if you will, and you have to hold. You have to do your duty. I mean, it must be such a crazy thing, man. Getting sniped every day, and then a military barrage. By the way, that I don't know what was it, the Katyusha? I doubt it was, but those type of weapons that fire missiles very quickly, they're so cool.
This time, the guerrillas advanced from 2 directions, the strongest attack from the north. The Soviet commander noticed that this was unusually well coordinated. See, for years, the Mujahideen had relied on hit-and-run tactics, but now they were seen with walkie-talkies, like regular trained soldiers. The rebels waited until the barrage forced the paratroopers to take cover before they attacked, and separate ground groups covered each other with suppressing fire. Bundles of hand grenades bounced against the Kladkis, and many defenders were wounded by shrapnel and stone fragments. The whole mountaintop became engulfed in the chaos of combat as the noise of grenades, gunfire, and exploding mines drowned everything else out. The attacks now concentrated on the 12.7 millimeter gun. Placed in the center, the gun was able to shoot in all directions, but was also vulnerable to the enemy. Rockets and hand grenades targeted the gun, and some RPGs were fired from such a close range that they bounced off the gun without exploding.
Wait. What? They bounced off the gun? Is there like an active mechanism in the RPGs where if you fire at a short distance, it doesn't activate the bomb? I mean, I'm gonna guess it's basically like a torpedo with a dude.
Still, the machine gunner held on, firing a continuous stream into the enemy until shrapnel finally cut him and his gun down. At 5:35, another attack began. With the heavy machine gun destroyed, the Mujahideen made an all-out attack from 3 directions. Soviet artillery once more crashed into the attackers, but it was now dangerously close to their own position. The guerrillas came close, shouting to the Soviets to surrender. But this was not the kind of war where you'd want to become a prisoner.
Yeah, no way.
At 7:10, the situation grew desperate. Casualties were heavy and ammunition was running low. Fighting was so intense that a whole box of ammunition lasted maybe 15 minutes. The men fired their guns at close range. Others were even locked into hand-to-hand combat, fighting with bayonets and knives. Again, the enemy was repulsed. As night began to fall, the paratroopers were down to just a magazine or 2, and there were no grenades left. They had radioed to base repeatedly that they were in desperate need of supplies, but High Command responded that it was too dangerous to send in helicopters.
I mean,
The
yeah.
only help in immediate range was the deputy chief of the political department further down in the valley. He had just a few men from maintenance and reconnaissance personnel with him, but he immediately ordered them up the mountain.
Nice.
The column of armored vehicles made its way through the night until the route became impassable and the men dismounted. Burdened with 45 kilos of supplies and ammunition, each man struggled up the hill. They knew that the paratroopers were in a desperate situation and that reaching them was a matter of life and death. The men on the mountaintop had now been under attack for 12 hours, but all through the night, the Mujahideen did not let up. The defenders were firing only single shots.
Dude, imagine, man, the sleep deprivation, the anxiety, because it's at night. I don't know if they were able to have good lighting. Was there a full moon, or was it like pitch black? Did they have good visibility, man? I mean, it must have been an insane experience, you know? It must have been
There was
crazy.
not enough ammunition left to fire in bursts. Every bullet must count. Meanwhile, the support personnel advanced up the mountain. The approach was so steep that it took them 2.5 hours. In the end, the Mujahideen were unable to break the position. It was close. The arrival of the supply column had saved the day. The intensity of the attack caused a lot of speculation, though. It was the first time in the war the Soviets had encountered such a concentrated and well-executed attack. Some of the paratroopers said they had seen men in black uniforms and turbans. Rumors spoke of Pakistani special forces that supported the rebels and were even airlifted into Afghanistan, but it could never be proven. Of the 39 paratroopers, 6 had been killed and 28 wounded, some seriously. 3 men were awarded the Hero of the Soviet Union, 2 posthumously. The others were awarded the Order of the Red Banner and the Order of the Red Star. It is unknown exactly how many Mujahideen had been killed since they took all their dead and wounded from the battlefield as they retreated, but the Soviets said they numbered over 100. The victory was, however, short-lived.
Okay.
Like all of Operation Magistral, the battle for Hill 32-34 was a tactical success, sure, and the Gardes Coast route would remain open, but only for a few weeks. After the Soviets withdrew their forces, the Afghan army was unable to hold it. By the end of January 1988, the Mujahideen came back and recaptured the area. It was analogous to the whole war, a short-lived victory that meant little to nothing in the end.
You know what really, I don't know, maybe I'm weird in that department, but I don't, the Hero of the Soviet Union is the highest honor that you could receive back then. But the medal doesn't look good. I'm sorry, okay? Whoever made the medal needs to get a demotion. I mean, it doesn't, I mean, it looks too plain. Alright, it looks like, yeah, I get it, the star. Could you make it look cooler? Like make it more exciting and better. I don't know.
Joachim, one thing that I noticed from this song, when just after the verse, it goes to a half tempo, right? And I don't remember if it was you or if it was Per, but one of you guys said in one of these that you hate it when songs go to half tempo. So I was just thinking, how do you feel about this one?
Well, if I'm honest, it could have been me, but if it was me, I hate when choruses go to half tempo. And because it slows the song down like we did on Night Witches, and I normally
That's
hate
what
that.
it was. It was Night Witches.
Oh yeah, then it was me, sorry. But in this case, it's sort of the pre-chorus, and then it's fine. I'm totally cool with it.
Because then it goes back
gives
up again.
Yeah, you get a snap in the chorus anyway. I mean, I have a really love-hate relationship with this song because I think probably the best drumming in Sabaton history is towards the end of this song. The fill that Hannes performs, when the main riff comes back towards the end, I think that is yeah, how he figured that out in his head and how he performed that, that's beyond incredible. Fantastic. But on the other hand, his intro, Phil, I mean, it's a cut down version of it, but his drum intro was neither me or Peter, the producer at the time, could wrap our heads around it. So it was really weird. I'm not a huge fan of the drum intro. It's nothing bad with it. I'm getting used to it now. But I seriously think that, yeah, the last drum fill he does towards the end of the song is probably the coolest drums we ever had in Sabaton.
Does he know this? Does he know how you feel about this?
At least that I like the last part. Maybe he'll find out about the first part now.
You know, you're gonna get a call from him when this comes out and go, so don't like my
He
drums?
didn't tell
Huh?
me about that.
You go, no, I love your drums. You don't love them all the time, do you? Oh, that'd be funny.
Well, that's actually the constant thing. I mean, I actually enjoy it, the process of recording music. Some people, yeah, just want to do their thing, and you know, nobody can touch that. I wouldn't say I like conflict. I don't really, but a bit of friction and difference of opinion is good when writing music, and especially also recording music, because
Definitely in the studio playing around with stuff, and someone says, "Try this," and you think that's not, and you're like, "Oh yeah, hey, who knew?"
Yeah, and
you think you got it, and somebody takes that idea and takes it further. You know, maybe it was started out with a guitar thing, and then somebody grabs a keyboard, or you know, yeah, it's a. I really like that. A bit of friction is good, I think.
Of course.
No, but
So we have a drama queen on our hands here, someone who likes drama. Which I hate drama, by the way. Oh my god, people. I know people. Uh, I've known people, I should say, that like drama. Like those people that start fights not because they're mad. No, to start a fight. Why did you start a fight? I started a fight. Start a fight. Like, anyways, this is a very good. I thought this was gonna be like an overview of the Soviet-Afghan war. I didn't see the Hill 234. Sorry about that. My intro was all over the fake news here. I just I thought it was basically they were gonna talk about the whole war. I might do a video on that, just to get an understanding of the geopolitics at the time and how they came to how the war came to be. But the Hill 32, 34, it's basically like a last stand type deal. Like a 300, very cool 39 guys against. Apparently there was interference from Pakistani, or at least there was suspected to be Pakistani special forces. Who knows? It's possible. Maybe they were American. I don't know.
speaking of the music and stuff, you and I were talking a while ago, and you were actually talking about the solo of this song. So tell them what you were saying to me.
Yeah, actually, I really. It's a perfect example of something how pieces just fall into place sometimes. I remember, I guess this is in late 2015, I think, when I basically had made the pre-production for the song, and I sent it all out to the band, and Tobbe, who was playing guitar at the time, came back like, I don't know, 5 minutes after I sent the mail, like, oh, cool stuff. Can I do the solo? I got an idea. I'm like, yeah, sure. And 45 minutes later, he sends it back with the double harmony part. And yeah, I mean, normally if somebody comes up with a good idea for a solo, we adapt the song. I mean, this is only a pre-production, so we would change around the chords and everything, but he just nailed it exactly to the chords that were written and everything. So yeah, kudos to him to getting that thing just that fast, because when you're a musician, sometimes that's how it is. You might struggle for ages and ages and ages on the simple things sometimes, or a single thing, and then, well, you know yourself.
Oh yeah.
The next time you're just sitting down and like, where the fuck did that come from,
And the next time I have nothing, I'm gonna call you and I say, listen, I need a keyboard bit for this song. I have nothing.
Oh, you will be very, very disappointed. My keyboard skills these days are not that great anymore.
But maybe it's simplicity I'm looking for.
Oh, then I'm your man.
I see.
Then I'm your man.
There we go. Now the actual subject matter of this song. This is interesting because, like I said at the very beginning, you don't hear a lot of songs about the war between the Soviet Union and the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. I
Yeah,
don't know if there's maybe a lot of Russian songs that were written in the Soviet Union back then. Maybe there are, but I mean Western
yeah. There were. I've listened to a few. They were very
songs.
good.
And how did this leap out at you? This particular story?
Well, we came across. We were obviously looking for what do you call it? Well, I guess I could say fantastic stories about last dance. I remember this stuff. I was, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 when this went down. So this conflict is actually one of the earlier ones I remember from the, what do you call it, the news cycle these days. I can't say it's fond memories, obviously, but some of my earlier memories of current events is actually the Soviet-Afghan conflict.
And
That's interesting because I was a teenager when this happened. Because I'm a bit older than you, even though I don't look it. I mean, but you know, but I was a teenager when this happened, and you would think that it would be more on the American news cycles, but it wasn't. We knew that it was there, and you could read about it in Time magazine or in Newsweek magazine, in the serious news magazines, but you didn't see much about it on any late night TV or news cycle. It was more about American stuff because it was a Soviet war, I guess.
I mean, when you think about it, and I'm not American, I'm Canadian, but I don't know how many times I'm gonna, say that. There's a freaking flag on my thumbnails that, might give you a little bit of a clue there. But even during the whole time that the American Afghan war was going on for 20 years, was there that much coverage? I mean, there was coverage, of course, but there were periods for years that nobody really talked about it. It was in the background. Yeah, it happened. Who knows? You know.
Okay,
And
well, I'm gonna let you go now, but I'm gonna see you in a few days, and then we'll be live.
yes,
And we
All right, guys. This is the end of the video. I don't know if I should have ended the video before the whole talk afterwards. Tell me if you like it. If you don't, I don't know. I don't understand music that much, so it's useless to me. But hey, on the whole video overall, it was very good. I liked it. I didn't know about the Hill 32, 34. It's a very interesting story. Last Stand, all that. They would survive. And anyway, I'm not gonna keep you guys here any longer. If you like the video, like, subscribe. See you guys next time.